Cool.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. We are joined today by Foran, comedian, impressionist, and host of the Impressionable Hour on YouTube. Al, how's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad, Kane. Slowly, gradually coming out of this crazy, I suppose, period of time.
Yeah,
I'm grand. I mean, I was doing a lot of gigs beforehand, and then like every other kind of comedian or entertainer or singer out there, boom, it all stopped. So
Yeah,
I'm doing well enough. The odd voiceover here and there, bit of branded content and stuff like that. It's keeping me
yeah,
going.
that's good. That's good.
Podcast, of course.
Yeah, and that's very good. And obviously, like the podcast, like we started this ourselves.
Yeah.
During lockdown, like we were doing Zoom calls and Facebook Messenger chats and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
we kind of decided, look, it's something that we always wanted to do. And said, look, why not? Especially when lockdown,
Yeah.
you have to stay in home, and
Of
obviously
course,
the return of football and stuff like that was kind of on the horizon. So
Yeah.
we said we decided to do that.
Yeah.
Al, so with relation obviously to the return of football, Joe, it's quite noted that you are a huge Manchester United fan. For our sins. So Al, like,
just for the rival fans on Twitter, block my tweets. Christ, they've nothing better to do, lads. Honestly.
And Al, with relation to like the return of football, like Manchester United have come back, and we've been on a very good form. And before the lockdown, Bruno Fernandes came in, and we were on a good run of form, and we were going. There was an upturn results because before Christmas, we were playing very poorly. Like, how do you feel about United's return, and obviously return of Pogba and Rashford? Like, how do you think we've been going so far?
It's a tale of two halves, isn't it? You look before Christmas, before the start of the year, 2019, completely different team, disjointed all over the place. Unfortunate with the injury to Pogba. We started off so badly. I think a lot of people were slating Rashford, and what Rashford does most of the time, he actually proves a lot of people wrong. And he went on, and I think he had 19 or 18. I think he had around 18 or 17 or 18 goals before the end of the year. Then he got that goal against who was it? I don't know who he scored against at the start of the year, because he was sidelined pretty much at that point. But fast forward to January, even before the end of January, Rashford injured. It just looked absolutely hopeless. And then, lo and behold, we brought in Bruno Fernandes, and he completely changed. He was like the missing piece of the puzzle in terms of putting the structure together with this starting 11. And he's been phenomenal so far. And United have been very consistent. And it seems as if Bruno Fernandes is in there, and he's kind of a motivator. He's getting the best out of some players. He was getting the best out of the likes of Fred and McTominay and Martial. Even Marty, so well with Martial. It really is a tale of two halves. But it's kind of too little, too late. I feel we possibly would have been in City's position at this point if we had brought in Bruno Fernandes last summer. Absolutely.
Yeah, and like even with last summer, like there was talks of Bruno Fernandes coming in, and then the club relayed out saying that they weren't interested, even though like as well-known journalists, tier one journalists in the media were reporting that Fernandes, like there was interest with the club, and we were scouting him for a long time. Yeah. But it seemed like we wanted to keep kind of the net spend down, in terms of not bringing them in then. Obviously, fast forward now, as you said, like the season's been a tale of two halves. Like, what do you think about the whole like transformation that Ollie's after doing within the dressing room in terms of his recruitment and the kind of culture he's trying to set within the club?
Yeah, his recruitment has been spot on. Don't care what any of the rival fans say. I think Harry Maguire has been a really solid signing, and I think he's going to be even better next year for us. Yes, he's prone to a mistake. Yes, he lacks a bit of pace, but he reads the game so well. Like, he's so good at reading the game.
Like a prime John Terry.
Yeah. Well, he's kind of what, we've been missing that kind of centre-half since Rio Ferdinand left. A centre-half that can play and read the game well. I mean, we've been putting up with Smalling and Jones for the last few years. I don't particularly dislike Smalling. I thought Smalling was brilliant under Van Gaal.
Yeah.
But he like that, Smalling and Jones, they're not that kind of centre half that has a bit of, a ball playing ability about them. They don't have that element to them,
They're not going to win you a league.
No, absolutely not. They're not going to win you a league. But yeah, I've been so pleased with Harry Maguire, and then Wan-Bissaka, he's been incredible so far. I think he's, listen, this whole debate between Wan-Bissaka and Trent, Wan-Bissaka is going to be the best right back in the league for years to come, because I'd say Trent will probably move into the middle. He'll probably play in a central midfield role for Liverpool.
I believe he'll be Jordan Henderson's replacement. Because especially Trent in his youth days, he did play holding midfield, and he could even make the Gareth Bale transition onto the wing because he has the attributes to play there. So you're absolutely right to know.
I'd be overlooking Reece James though. Reece James,
Reece James does look very good. He looks very good. He is one for the future. And Liverpool fans seem to go on about Nico Williams as well. I don't. He does look very good. But yeah, Wan-Bissaka, and even going forward, he's improved going forward. His crossing has been a lot better in the last few months. I don't have to say anything about his defensive abilities. I mean, he's an incredible slide tackler. He's probably one of the best maybe the best slide tackler in the world at the minute. I can't think of anyone who's so consistent with slide tackles in world football at the minute. He's just he's incredible at that. And the way he pocketed Raheem Sterling in the away game against City, it just goes to show he can be a big game player, and he's consistent as well. It's rare you get a bad game out of Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah.
And he's definitely
his moments going forward, definitely though. That's the biggest challenge you'll have, is going forward, pick his moments, and then have the quality and delivery that we know he can do. I think as well. I think as a Spurs fan, I would love to have a Wan-Bissaka, because Serge Aurier is the complete opposite. He always goes forward, and he can't defend when he is back. So
defend,
So I think the moment is really important for Wan-Bissaka.
Oh, it is. I think he has 2 or 3 assists so far this season.
And he's only young. What is he, 21, 22, something like that?
22.
Yeah, 21, yeah.
And consistency comes with experience as well, so he will get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is good. Which is good for United anyway.
Yeah.
Because when he first come to United, I think after a few games, people were kind of slating him a little bit, to be honest.
Well, they were slating him. I mean, I've heard things going around saying he's a tackle merchant and all this. That's all a part of the game.
You want a defender who can tackle, though. Yeah, you do.
Absolutely.
We put up for Ashley Young for way too long.
Way too long.
But the emphasis now is going forward, isn't it? Really on wing backs. It's the defence is secondary nowadays, where it shouldn't really be like that, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it is. That's what it's become. That's what the game has become. You know? Rare you see a 4-4-2 as well.
Never.
Only Atletico Madrid. It still seems to work for them.
Absolutely. Al, as a Manchester United fan, we have to address the elephant in the room. Liverpool obviously wrapped up the league last week. As a United fan, how did that feel? I know personally for myself, I was humbled for all about 2 hours, but then their fans, were hounding me on my phone, and I just, I couldn't take it. Like, how did you feel, when obviously they wrapped up the league last week?
Yeah, it was painful.
I think that's for everyone, not just United fans. Don't worry.
Definitely.
I think so. Yeah, but listen, all credit to them. They have been absolutely outstanding this year. I mean, they're complete everywhere. Midfield, I'm not too sure. I mean, they were. I know they had. I'd say there was a few sore heads on the pitch against City, but their midfield is probably, well, I don't know. It's definitely not as good as City's anyway. That's where City can beat them at. But defense, a good defense wins you the league, and they had a good defense. And their attack, what can you say about their attack? Those three going forward are just incredible, and they have such an understanding as well. I think they've been playing together for the last 2-3 years, and you could tell. I think around the 2017-2018 season, when Klopp brought in Salah, you could tell what he was doing. He was piecing everything together, and then bringing in Van Dijk, who was just a monster.
And to be honest with you, I think you could have the same group of players, but I don't think that they would have won the league without Klopp. I think he's the instrumental piece in that puzzle. Now, the players absolutely will do anything for him, and you can tell that.
Incredible manager. I think it was the same at Dortmund as well. I think he had that same relationship with the players at Dortmund. They adored him,
He's just that presence, and I think he you can see it after games that they win. He's on the pitch, he's hugging them, he's around them.
But what I'd say is about that kind of he definitely develops a relationship with each player. I'd imagine. I'd say he's so good. His man management is so good, but I'd say you don't cross him.
I wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of him.
No way.
It's very rare you see the wrong side of him. He doesn't show it that much on the touchline anymore. I remember him at Dortmund. He'd go crazy a few times on the touchline. I think he went and squared up to one of the fourth officials in a Champions League game.
He does that with Liverpool as well. He does that quite a lot as well.
He does, but not as much as he used to.
You can't get away with it over in the UK, I suppose, in the Premier League as much, maybe. I don't know.
I think this season too, probably the most impressive part was how much they dug in this season. They didn't play probably as well as they played last season.
They actually didn't.
But they had so many games where they just did not wilt. They just kept on going and going, and maybe that is the Klopp effect with the players, where they were giving them so much confidence.
They were doing what Ferguson did in the late noughties, from the early 90s up to the late 90s. They were doing what Ferguson did. They were grinding out results. It was actually, that was the most painful aspect of watching them every week, seeing them grind out results. I'd never mind them winning 5-0 at home or away. When I saw them grind out results, I was like, oh my God, they're going to do it. If they can do this, if they have that mentality, they're definitely gonna.
And anyone who can turn Joey Henderson into world-class player deserves every accolade there is.
Jordan Henderson gets some slating on this podcast. It's unbelievable.
He can't get Player of the Year though.
No. I think Sadio Mane or Trent Alexander-Arnold. For me now, I think I've said it a couple of times. Trent has been integral in terms of how Liverpool attack, especially with the respect to how he provides that overlap for Salah, and Salah has that freedom to come inside and float around. Whereas obviously Mane's goal scoring ability also can't be understated.
Yeah.
But I think Jordan Henderson would be kind of I'd have a sour taste in my mouth if he got it now, to be fair.
Yeah,
a lot of fans would, I think.
Yeah.
It's just I think it's his attitude. He's not the most gifted player on the team, but he's, in terms of work ethic and just getting involved and never giving up, mentally wise, I suppose you can't knock him for that. Leadership, yeah, exactly. He has that in droves. So
he has tremendous leadership qualities. I mean, ever since Klopp gave, I think, I mean, it was everyone thought it was the biggest joke ever.
Yeah.
Gave him the armband in 2015, and now look at him. He's a Champions League winner. He's a Premier League winner. He's a
imagine he has a league title and Gerrard doesn't. I think that's an injustice. Like, if I was a Liverpool fan, I'd be disgusted with that now, to be fair.
I mean, that was he was one of the first. He was one of the first kind of subjects that came up in my mind when they won the league. Like, I was just thinking to myself, I wonder what is he thinking right now after years of attempt at, like, because arguably he's probably one of their greatest players ever. He probably is their greatest player ever.
Greatest, yeah. Greatest player to never win anything decent. Well, like the Champions League, obviously, aside, but like the Premier League.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'll put this into kind of a perspective now. Anderson has 3 Premier League medals and Gerrard has 0.
Yeah.
Listen, only for his slip, he would have won a Premier League. So he's only himself to blame.
Tom Cleverley has 2, I think, as well.
Oh, he does.
You can, yeah. Listen, there's so many players you can name that have more Premier. I mean, Robert Huth and Wes Morgan, you know.
Tim Sherwood.
Tim Sherwood, yeah.
Jack, I understand you have a couple of questions for Al, just in relation to Chelsea.
So look, lately, I suppose in the last couple of years, it's kind of it's become more and more popular for younger managers to kind of be given a shot. I suppose Frank Lampard being the example, really. What do you think of Frank Lampard, and how do you think he's done so far?
I think he's a great coach.
Yeah,
I think. And I know United have Ole's beaten them 3 times this season, but
rub that in. Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. No, but I think a lot of people are going to highlight that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This season, he gets it. His style of football is very exciting, and I think you could see that when he was at Derby, that he had a brand of football. I knew once Lampard went into management, once he went to Derby, like, I knew guy. I think he's a highly intelligent individual off the pitch anyway.
Yeah, his IQ is ridiculous, I think.
Off the charts, yeah. He has a really high IQ apparently. So yeah, I think he's gonna do a great job with Chelsea. It's a new project though with
completely
with Chelsea. It's, you know, none of this quick fix that Roman has been doing for years. Bringing back Mourinho, bringing in Ancelotti, bringing in Conte. You know, he's just been relying on little quick fixes at Chelsea. This has to be a long-term project. And like, as a United fan, as a rival fan, I'd be very worried with Chelsea, especially with their spending power. You know, the fact that Werner's coming in next season. Havertz seems to be a possibility as well.
Apparently it's a done deal.
Yeah, you know.
So
honestly, watch
as well.
out for Chelsea.
I think that as a Chelsea fan, and look, most Chelsea fans will tell you how much they adore Roman and everything that he's done for the club and everything he's brought. But I think he has to give Lampard time, because I think that's probably the one thing that he can do is get rid of him and treat him maybe as he's treated some of our other managers in terms of not giving them time. I think that's the only way I can see maybe Chelsea fans turning against him slightly, because, I mean, Frank Lampard, John Terry, they are just the pinnacle of Chelsea and Chelsea fans and everything that they've achieved in the last few years. Now, I actually personally thought John Terry would have been the manager way before Lampard, but Lampard is, you can just tell that the players like him. He works for the players. Yeah. The only worry I would have is that maybe has he got that kind of, you know, I don't know if fear factor is the right term, but, you know, when he has to have the hard conversation, is he going to be able to do it? Maybe like the Klopps or Alex Ferguson's, you know, throwing a boot at someone's head if he has to.
I would say so.
You know,
I would definitely say so, because he knows the values. He knows the values of that club. He's been there such a long time. Highest He's the highest goal scorer as well.
Midfield goal scorer in the league of all time in the Premiership,
in the Premier, yeah. You know, I always rated Lampard better than Gerrard, by the way.
Hey.
There's no debate. I don't even want to have this. There is no debate. How could look? The game of the game is to put the ball in the back of the net, and he does it.
Well, his goals. Gerrard scored slightly more spectacular goals than Lampard, because Lampard scored so many wonderful goals. I think that it was the creativity that Lampard had in his locker that edges him over Gerrard for me. But then I'll say Scholes is better than the two of them.
I was going to drop that in, but then thank God you got there before me.
Listen, we'll be having this debate in 200 years' time, and there'll never be a definitive answer, will there? Really,
it's a brilliant debate, though. It really is.
I think the only reason Lampard is probably not above the rest is because his finesse is not there compared to, we'll say, the passing of Scholes or the finishing of Gerrard. He just is a workhorse. He just, he does what he needs to do, and I think maybe that is why most people don't think he is.
Very consistent, though.
Oh, I mean, he's goal.
So
I mean, he was. You could bank on him 20 goals a season every season, like.
Yeah.
As well as assists. I mean, so.
And I think goals from midfield always win leagues. If you have a lot of goals from midfield, you'll win a lot of leagues. I think, Liverpool probably proved that this season as well. The only worry I would have for Lampard is he's got a bit of a buffer now for next season because of the fact he's did so well this season. Now the money is starting to roll. Players are being bought. If you go a step back this or next season, what kind of Abramovich comes out then? Is it then the kind of one that wants to win something very, very quick because he spent close to 200 million in the last 3 months?
Yeah.
That's then the challenge he has. But look, I think we seen many years ago when he had that West Ham kind of fan conference when Harry Redknapp came out and basically said he would go to the top as a player. I think he has the mentality to go to the top as a manager as well. I think he's proven that
he'll be good at anything he does. Yeah,
anything he does.
One of them people.
Just a really special player, and I think he'll be a special manager too over the course of the next maybe 10 years, wherever he goes.
I think Jody Morris as well as his number 2. Like most people probably wouldn't be that familiar with Jody Morris unless you're a Chelsea fan. I mean, he was with us for a lot of years now. I mean, he was never the best football player in the world, but I think he complements Frank Lampard and what Jody Morris done with our youth team. I mean, our youth team was unbelievable. Like all these players coming through now are all because of Jody Morris. So I think he deserves a bit of credit as well. He brought a lot of them through, the Callums, Hudson-Odoi, Billy Gilmore, the Mounts. Yeah, probably my pick for player of the season. But look, I doubt anyone else will agree with me on that one. But might be a step too far. But yeah, look. I think nowadays there's a lot more teams kind of going for that younger manager. It's maybe fashionable a little bit at the moment. So
yeah,
I don't know where it'll go. Look at Ole. I mean, Ole, I suppose Ole is not that young, but he looks young, doesn't he? Really. So
Arteta at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Even Pep at City.
Yeah.
And then Klopp is still young enough.
I actually genuinely think Arteta is going to be one of the best managers in the world in a couple of years. I don't think he'll do it at Arsenal.
The project is so hard at Arsenal.
I think he'll actually go to Barca at some point. I think he's tailor-made for Barca, and I think he will be phenomenal. There's just something about him. I don't know what it is. Again, he's got all the attributes for winner. So I don't know. Hopefully he won't do it at Arsenal anyway.
We can all agree on that.
So go on. Sorry.
No, go on. Yeah.
No. It's just I was going to move on. I know. Look, football. The transfer window's coming up now soon. Everyone's favourite time of the year, almost, other than the football itself, obviously. How do you feel that this whole kind of COVID-19 situation is going to affect it, and do you think it'll affect teams spending money? How do you think? What kind of impact do you think that'll have on it?
Well, if you want proof, look at Barcelona and their wages. Yeah, it's definitely going to be affected. I mean, I know United are in for Sancho and in for Grealish. I think they're going to definitely try and bargain with Aston Villa for a cheaper price for Grealish. Yeah, I think it is. I think it is going to affect. You're not going to see a lucrative £200 million transfer this season. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, it has. It's definitely taken an effect. You know, and some of the smaller clubs as well, that you know, heavily depend on ticket sales. You know, my heart goes out to them. Wigan Athletic have gone into administration. You know,
yeah.
There'll be more to follow, I would imagine.
You know, you have to feel for those clubs. You really do.
I think they'll have to do something in terms of the smaller clubs, the FA. I don't know what they'll do, whether it's in terms of cash injections, but you'll probably see a lot more loan deals for the smaller clubs. Bigger clubs hopefully helping them out a little bit. I would hope to see.
Yeah.
Now, look, for Chelsea again, going back to them, I know, but I mean, we've obviously spent good, and now I know we had the ban, so we probably got a lot of extra kind of excess cash laying around.
You had the Eden Hazard money.
Eden Hazard money, yeah, and I mean, the Morata money's coming in. There's loads of players that we've made money on, plus all the loans that we bank on. But I think a lot of other clubs, you know, will probably be fairly quiet. I think Liverpool will be fairly quiet. Not that they don't need a whole deal anyway. I think you'll see. I think they'll have to sell, or they will sell before they buy.
Could you see one of their front three?
Yeah, leaving? And it'd have to be Salah. I mean, you couldn't get rid of Mane. I think he's just, I don't know. And Salah is just unbelievable as well. But I think cash-wise, they would probably benefit more from getting rid of Salah. If they want, I think it was Mbappe that they were linked to anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of talk
I don't see that happening now, though.
No.
That's a world record transfer fee, you know, if it happens.
Well, there was all this talk of them. They're going to be sponsored by Nike. Is going to be their kit sponsor next year, and it was all talk of Nike kind of financing, large sum of the deal to bring Mbappe to Liverpool or something.
So it's all a bit shady. I don't even know if you can have kind of third party.
Kind of like the Pogba transfer.
Yeah. It's a bit dodgy now, to be honest. No, he's one player that might go. He may move on.
But do you know what? What I'd say about Pogba, Jack, with that is that, like, before COVID-19, like, it looked nailed on that he was going to go to Real Madrid, but like Real Madrid, they can't afford him, and Juventus have just got Artur in from Barcelona, so like, really and truly, Juventus have to offload a few top midfielders like likes of Emre Can, likes of that before they could before they can afford Paul Pogba. And like, there's reports coming out I've just seen today that, you know, he's apparently the happiest he's ever been at United, and this partnership that he's developing with Bruno Fernandes, though it seems to be sparkling. So I don't know.
Came out with he came out today and said that Pogba's very happy, and it's likely that he'll stay.
The problem with Pogba is, in 2 months' time, he won't be, and he's disruptive on the squad.
His agent is disruptive.
Yes, you're right, exactly. His agent. It's, I don't know. Look, what about Tottenham, Jamie? What do you think about them?
I don't even know where to start, to be honest. Disarray, I suppose. Disarray from even last night, so. I suppose what I would like to hear is a few words of encouragement from a special one, Jose Mourinho, potentially.
I don't know what to tell you. What do you want? Do you think that I have some sort of magic wand? And I turned Dele Alli into 2015 Dele Alli? I can't do that. I don't know. I think it's very bad. Our situation is shocking, and I think it's time for me to possibly have some sort of intervention. I don't know. International management, because all the fans have been saying that for years.
Jose, would you consider maybe taking the Republic of Ireland job?
I think possibly because they hoofed the ball and parked the bus. Very good. No, they don't.
They do a little bit.
No, Stephen Kenny, very good. I think he will bring new style of football to the Republic of Ireland. Or the Martin O'Neill Jurassic period football, where the ball is hoofed up the pitch to Shane Long, and he just runs and runs and runs, and if the ball's at his feet, then he just shoots from a certain angle. Absolutely wonderful.
You sound more like that TV cook, Neville Maguire.
He does. He sounds like a Northern Ireland version of Bono as well. Do you know? He kind of, yeah.
Oh, stop that. So hopefully that was encouraging to you, Jamie.
Oh, listen,
Absolutely,
Mourinho
that was definitely
finished.
what I needed.
He's finished, Jamie.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's international management. That's I said it after he got sacked at United. I said the international management is the way to go for him. The Premier League, any kind of league now. Maybe if he went back to Italy, he might possibly benefit if he went back to Italy. I don't know.
Let him fight it out with Roy Keane for the Azerbaijan job.
Yeah. Of course. No, that's my job. I'll be taking that. Listen, he's going to do nothing about it. I'm going to take that job. They're offering the exorbitant amount of money. Why would I not take it?
Oh, that's good. I like that one.
Oh, that was brilliant.
I hope you don't hear that, though. He might be a bit upset.
I think Roy Keane has been living. He's been living in it's a persona now. He
loves it. He loves it. He just plays up to the camera that people think he's this kind of moody geezer, but I don't know.
Great. He is box office.
Yeah, he's like a young Eamon Dunphy, isn't he?
Well, I would disagree with that, baby. Roy was his own person, a great guy, a great player, a wonderful family man, and that's what Roy was. And we fell out, and it was very bad, baby. We fell out, baby.
Oh, that's good. I like that one.
Jamie, I understand you have a few questions for Al.
Yeah, I suppose to go away from the football side of things, Al, I just wanted to speak quickly about your career. I suppose in 2015, really, you got your kind of big breakthrough.
Yeah.
Before that, I believe you were making videos online on YouTube and stuff. But 2014, 2015, I suppose when Conor came on the scene, that's when kind of big breakthrough came through.
Yeah.
And when it happened first, were they nerves going into the business? Like, obviously, before that, I think you stated before on an interview that you're somewhat of a perfectionist, and going into actually interviewing people and being, I suppose, with the person you're going to impersonate, was there kind of an oh shit moment there, kind of going, I have to be shit hot here to really be successful in this?
Yeah, I mean, my pathway into the industry has kind of been like many others in the last 5 years. In terms of social media has been the pathway. I always looked up to Mario Rosenstock and Oliver Callan, and I'd always send my impressions to RTE or TV3 or Today FM, 98 FM, you name it, and nobody would look at it. And it wasn't until early 2015 when McGregor really hit the ground running. I think it was after he beat Dennis Seaver in Boston. I just did a little impression of him, and it went viral in Dublin. And then gradually I just made more videos. I was working in retail, at the time, and I was just making more and more videos. Then Aldo pulled out. Remember, he pulled out. He had a broken rib.
Yeah.
And I remember making a McGregor video, and that went viral, and it just grew from there. From there on, it just grew, and then I ended up with Joe. I ended up working with Joe.ie, joe.ie/joe.co.uk from November 2015. I was with him for 6 months. You know, so it was mad. It's a mad job, to be honest with you, but it's great. You know, I enjoy it.
Doing something you love.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I am. I'm very fortunate to be in the position that I am in, you know.
And now that you transitioned into, I suppose, the podcast over the last, 7-8 weeks, since the beginning of April, I believe that you would have started. How are you finding that now? Is that something different where you get to show parts of your own personality on as well, your own interests? And
oh, I love it. I love it. I've had some fantastic guests on. I've had my two buddies, my two impressionist buddies, Schaefer and Connor. They're unbelievably talented as well, and they have brilliant stories as well. Rory Stories I've had on.
Oh, he's brilliant.
He's
fantastic.
He's the man when it comes to social media in Ireland, in my opinion. He's one of my best friends as well. Like I've been a really close friend of his for years now. You know, and brilliant guests. I've really enjoyed it. I'm very fortunate to have got the guests that I had on. Like David May, that podcast was, you know, it was a brilliant podcast for anyone that wanted an insight into the 90s Man United team. You know, that's the podcast. That's the episode you want to listen to, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like recently, we had ourselves. We had Phil Brown on, you know, from Beyond the Pitch.
Yes.
We recently had the old former United player Luke Chadwick. I spoke to him on a Twitter live, and we uploaded it to Spotify. And it was kind of good to hear the insights how he came through though from the academy, and then obviously coming into a team that just won the treble. So it was kind of good to see his insights. So especially when he went out on loan a couple of times as well and got more experience, it was kind of good to see an insight of a professional footballer. Yeah,
absolutely. It is.
Al, just with relation, obviously, to your podcast, you recently had WWE superstar Finn Balor on. Myself and Jamie now would be two big WWE fans and wrestling fans just in general. Like, how was that, like, you know, interviewing Finn? And, you know, I suppose from a WWE perspective as well, did you watch that growing up, and do you have any particular favourite wrestler?
Yeah, I've been watching the product since early 1998. So I came into it when the Attitude Era was just off the ground running. So I'm an Attitude Era guy. You know, when you talk about wrestling, to me, the Attitude Era is like a religion to me about wrestling, you know. Finn, Fergal, an absolute gentleman. Just a lovely fella. I think it's very unfair. I think I look at the Irish media. I think it's very unfair that they don't highlight what the likes of Fergal and Becky and Sheamus are doing on a worldwide stage, essentially. Like, Becky didn't get near enough coverage, the coverage in Ireland that she deserved to get when she main evented WrestleMania and won the belts. Listen, I know it's scripted, I know that's probably what, it's scripted, it's this and that. That's huge. That's massive. Like, I don't know, how many viewers do they get for WrestleMania?
It's crazy. I think it's crazy. Only thing because the Super Bowl is ahead of it, I think, worldwide.
Yeah, you know. So, yeah, I think, like, the success that Fergal has made, and, you know, outside of Ireland, especially in Japan as well. He's like an icon in Japan. He's like a god over there. He was an unbelievable guest, and he's a really nice fella. He's down to earth, you know.
Yeah.
The bits of the podcast that I love the wrestling, parts of the podcast, but when I spoke to him about his past, you know, the fact that he played played soccer, he played a school final in Croke Park, you know, I wanted to kind of get that kind of side of him as well.
Yeah.
And he's a Spurs fan, you know.
Yeah.
It's like as well, and like one of the highlights of that podcast is when he looked after me and my mate in New Orleans in 2018. Like, he just, we arrived and we were at the Access, and we were brought backstage at Access, and there, lo and behold, there's Randy Orton right in front of me.
Oh, no way.
Talking to Randy Orton. Randy Orton's bang on. He's sound. And then the following night we go to Mania, and he brings us backstage at WrestleMania. We're backstage.
My God.
We're near the Gorilla. We were near the Gorilla at one point. It was absolutely mental. Like, I know, like, I'm very lucky to have met some of the biggest sports stars in living memory, like Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson, and the Class of '92, and McGregor. But that was the most surreal moment, being backstage at at WrestleMania. It was just mad because they were just everywhere. We met Ronda Rousey as well.
That's unbelievable. Oh my God.
Brought us to the catering area, and all the wrestlers were there sitting there. We were shitting ourselves. We were like, fucking Eve, just look with our WrestleMania styled NFL shirts
and the big fingers.
Yeah, we didn't have the fingers. We didn't have the finger. I wish we got them, the little foam fingers.
Al, with regards to the kind of wrestling side of things, like when you obviously watch it through the attitude era, like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, and The Undertaker, Kane, Triple H, Kurt Angle, I could name hundreds of wrestlers that were through that time. Who was your favorite growing up?
Yeah, I see. I fit wrestling into two categories. So my favorite WWE superstar of all time is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
And my favorite wrestler of all time is Kurt Angle.
Oh, unbelievable he is.
Yeah.
He's a proper ring general, he was.
A ring general. I mean, Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 21. Ooh, what a match. That is a classic. That I remember watching that back when I was younger. I remember taping WrestleMania 21 and watching
on the old videos.
Old videos,
VCR, yeah.
I used to have to do that as well back in the day, and because I'd have school the next day, and my mother wouldn't leave me to stay up late in the night. So I'd have the video on record, and I used to get up then real early next morning and go in, watch it, then go into school and talk about it then, because I knew everyone else would be watching it, but back then, so I was like, look, if I don't watch this before everyone comes in, there'll be trouble, like.
But yeah, like, I mean, and I suppose, like, when you look at it, Shawn Michaels has been involved in all of the best matches, pretty much, in not just WrestleMania history, but in wrestling history. Like, the Undertaker HBK at WrestleMania 25, like, that was. I remember watching that, and it was kind of equal to watching a football match. It was just mad. I remember, like, it was incredible.
I remember watching that pay-per-view with a few of my family members, and there's a friend of ours who wasn't a wrestling fan at all, had no interest in it, hated wrestling.
Yeah.
And after that match, he turned around to me and said, that was unbelievable.
I've heard loads of stories about that. Lads who kind of stopped watching years prior to that, or never even liked it in the first place, and they watched that match. Whatever, just stories of lads, I think, that were watching it live and had a session going on or whatever.
Yeah.
And he said the lads that weren't that interested in it, like, were absolutely just glued to it. They fucking were loving it,
Absolutely. And it was one of the greatest matches of all time. Not just, as you said, WrestleMania, like, this of all time. It was one of the greatest matches. Al,
I think the last wrestling match I watched was on Andre the Giant and Jake the Snake Roberts when he ran into the ring with his snake and Andre the Giant ran away. That must have been about I don't know 25 years ago. That's probably the last time I watched a match.
Probably even more, Jack. That's close 30 years ago.
Jesus,
Turkey, yeah.
That was in the times of Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior, and Ultimate.
They call that the golden age,
yeah.
Golden era.
Zuba, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Bret Hart as well was just kind
Bret Hart, yeah.
He was unbelievable.
Oh, Bret Hart was incredible.
Yeah,
absolutely. Al, with relation to Conor McGregor, how does he feel, Joe, in relation to a potential rematch with Floyd Mayweather? Obviously, he got to the 10th round and he done better than most people expected, and it was the second biggest draw in boxing history. How does Conor feel about a potential rematch with Floyd?
Well, listen, my skills have greatly improved since that fight in 2017. So, I mean, there's lots of things that can happen. I mean, I was there giving it all to Vince McMahon there in my Instagram story yesterday. So, we will see what happens. We will see what happens. I mean, I think I could go in there against Floyd and land more punches. I would be technically astute when I'm in there against Floyd. So 100%, I can see it happening. I can see the rematch happening. Charlotte, would you say no to another 100 milli? Now you're bleeding.
Brilliant. You'd be buying another 100 Rolls Royces.
100%. I will be bringing out a red wine and white wine range.
Al, one final one there for you. So, first of all, thanks very much for coming on. And you're obviously a busy man. You're your own podcast, and you're doing your thing. And look, it means a lot to all of us here at the podcast, so that you did come on. And just one final question for you. In your heart and hearts, who's winning the league next season?
City.
Jack thought you were going to say Chelsea there.
You said that in a straight face. Yeah.
City. Although I won't be surprised if United, to get the signings they need, won't be surprised.
They might finish fifth.
They might. Or they could put up a Liverpool 2018, 2019 efforts. That's I don't know.
Absolutely.
Hope Maguire slips.
Oh no! There was not.
I tell you, Jack, be careful now. I don't want it to be 4-0.
Listen, you better hope it's not, because I'm going to remind you of this.
Al,
into a GIF.
Al, thanks very much for coming on. It was a fantastic chat, though. A lot of great talking points tonight. And thanks, Jack and Jamie, for coming on as usual as well. We'll have this uploaded to YouTube, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Google, and Apple Podcasts soon. We tune in next week. We have Callum McFadden on from Football CFB, and we've other guests coming soon. So thanks everyone for watching. Thanks very much, lads. Have a good evening.
You too. Cheers.
Cheers.
See ya.
Bye.
Good luck.
Take care.